welcome to another episode of the InfoTech Growth Partner Podcast, the podcast where the future of IT unfolds, and we dive deep into the pertinent developments in regards to IT and data with leaders and experts in the IT consulting field. My name is Jasper, and today I have the pleasure to have Jamie Marshall on the show. Jamie is the co-founder of Everon and Dynamics 365 Cloud, and it's great to have you on the show, Jamie. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting to be on.
Awesome. Well, let's just dive in. And before we start, of course, it's also always great to have a little bit of an introduction from your end. Can you give us a little bit of an insight into your background, what Everon does, what Dynamics 365 Cloud does, and what your role is within those companies?
Yes, no problem. So probably start with Everon, maybe the easiest. So Everon is a managed IT services company. Ultimately, we're a Microsoft partner and a Microsoft house. So we just deal within the Microsoft 365 world, Azure, that kind of stuff. And we focus on helping regulated industries more often than not. So the legal sector is a big vertical for us. We try not to be traditional IT, and we want to kind of deliver a return on investment for clients in their IT spend. Hence the reason Dynamics 365 Cloud was born last year. So essentially, that's a sister brand and company to Everon, and that is all aimed around Dynamics 365, Business Central, and Power App development for clients. So essentially there we're trying to kind of do that digital transformation piece for clients. And my role, I've kind of transitioned as well over the years. So I started off on the tools, as it were, back when we first started. And my kind of roles grown a little bit. I had to wear all the different hats that I guess most owner operators wear. And kind of nowadays I'm more in the business development side of things. So the growth of the business, the new clients, that kind of stuff.
Thank you. And we definitely are going to dive a little bit deeper into that business development part of the business, because I think you have some very interesting things that you do as a company. And as you said yourself, you're delivering an ROI, you're promising an ROI, you're having guarantees behind it as well. So those are some of the things that we definitely will dive a little bit deeper into. First question I want to ask, you mentioned, you typically focus on regulated industries. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Why you specifically choose these types of companies?
So initially that sort of was a happy accident, and also a little bit of planning once we realized kind of where we were heading as a company. So when we first set up and we started, we didn't really have any direction or niche. So we kind of were just a bit of a jack of all trades. Luckily for us, our kind of biggest vertical that we just happily landed in was the legal sector. We had a few different large clients that were in that sector. And then as we kind of, grew the business and we were learning more about where we could go in the future and how we should niche down, it became apparent that regulated industries are pushed into change more often than a traditional company. They have tighter, obviously, governing bodies that ensure they have to continuously adapt. So it just kind of really fit in well and aligned well with our kind of continual improvement ethos. Obviously, the legal sector is a regulated industry, so we already had some experience there. So we kind of just took what we'd happily found ourselves in, mixed with where we wanted to be, and then spread that out. So now we have medical clinics, dentists, obviously still legal. We have financial, insurance companies, and we kind of target those industries for those reasons. If we had a perfect fit client that wasn't regulated industry, we would still work with them, but we don't kind of actively try to go after those sort of clients.
Thanks. Yeah, it makes quite some sense. That's how businesses grow. They start, they think they can do everything for everyone. They found out, or they start working with some specific industry, specific companies. They find out that it works well or it doesn't work well, and they expand to other industries. They test. So that is pretty familiar what you're saying there. As I said, I want to dive a little bit deeper on the business development side, specifically in IT consulting and managed services, the things that you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about, and I can give you some pointers, of course. That can you tell us a little bit about the things that you do in regards to business development, making sure that you get to speak to people, that people would want to engage with you? And we already talked about the ROI. We already talked about the guarantee. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we've tried to do a few different things over the years. We kind of settled on that we're a people business, being a service business, and people buy from people.
Yeah.
So although we'd love a client to land on our website and pick up the phone and ring us and just sign people up there and then, we kind of realized it's probably not a realistic possibility nowadays, especially in our industry where people need a lot more education. So the route we have now is essentially we'll educate people as much as we can and provide as much material and content around education of a topic for free, even down to I've previously given people migration plans of what we would do if we were working with them to help them move to the cloud and giving them effectively our blueprint of what we would do. In the end, that one, we build trust and authority with that prospect or that company, and it builds relationship kind of strengths all the time. And two, most of the time, even if somebody has the guide or the step-by-step plan, if they're not from our industry, they'll get stuck at some point or they'll not actually follow through and do it themselves. And obviously you then become the person that's given it, become the front runner for picking up and getting that project across the line. So we try and do a lot of that. Our wiener guarantee is something that's a bit unique to us, hopefully, and essentially because people perceive switching providers or new providers being a risk, we want to kind of remove some of that risk and have some skin in the game that we can lose with them if it becomes a problem. Touch wood, we've never had to give this out or we've never had an issue with it, but essentially it is within the first 60 days of working with Everon, if you're not entirely satisfied or we haven't hit our objectives, we will give you £2,000 by the way of an apology, and we will also refund any money you spent with us. And then the wiener guarantee actually comes from, we will buy your entire staff a gourmet hot dog lunch as a way of saying sorry to them individually as well. So we came up with the wiener guarantee, and essentially just, hopefully gives us the prospect a bit of confidence that we're willing to risk something as well to prove we can make it happen for them.
Yeah, and I want to dive a little bit deeper into that as well. Something you mentioned at the beginning, people buy from people, and there's quite some trust and a good relationship needed in order for people to buy from you. Because, well, as you know yourself, there are hundreds of managed service providers that are doing similar things that you are doing, let's be honest. So that is also mostly why businesses in this industry typically grow from their network and from referrals, because those are people that already trust you, or you get referred by people who they already trust, which then in turn they will trust you as well most of the time. And I also can really resonate with the fact that you said that, we try to share as much value, we try to educate the market, we try to give them the tools that they need, that they can do it themselves. But most of the time, they don't have the time, they don't really have the knowledge to implement it fully. So most logical next step is to be working with you guys. So these are, I think, the essential things that every business should keep in mind in this specific industry. It's relationship based, trust, providing value, and then it's about people wanting to engage with you. And also what we see is that, like, the people that you speak with today will probably not have a need for your services right now. But what you can do in the meantime is staying top of mind, showcasing more expertise, more evidence about the things that you're doing, up until a certain point where they will say, we do have a need right now. We need something different. We're not happy with our current service provider. We had a good conversation with Jamie. Everyone is showcasing some good expertise, some good evidence over the last couple of months. Let's give him a call again. And I think that is really also the approach that we take as a business, and how we help these businesses grow, is speaking to as much as people as possible face to face, because people buy from people, and then making sure that you stay top of mind up until the point when they actually need your services. Is it something that you can also resonate with?
Yeah, I mean, it's a gift and a curse is
Yeah.
the MSP world, because once we get a client, we very rarely lose a client. The only way we really lose a client is if they get acquired and they've already got an existing provider in the parent company. But in the flip side of that, it makes it super hard to land new clients as well. So we have this kind of, I guess, bittersweet where really hard to get people, but once you do, we know they're going to stay for 10 plus years in most instances. So it's, yeah, it's a sort of double edged sword, I guess.
Yeah.
I think the referral thing, obviously, we found that as well. Our sales cycle for referred leads is probably about a month generally to close a referred lead, whereas sort of cold outreach or meeting someone to then having them sign up can be 12 to 15 months. So it's a massive difference, yeah, in the two approaches.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think what most businesses should do, and well, they say, well, cold outreach doesn't really work. And that's partly also because sales cycles tend to be quite long. They don't want to wait for that and go through that whole process. But what we see is that as long as you build a good pipeline, a big pipeline of people that you're speaking with, there will, like if you have a pipeline of, let's say, 100 cold leads that you have been speaking to in the last couple of months, every week or every month or whatever, someone will raise their hand and will say, we have a need right now. And that helps you to, like, you have to start with that. You have to start engaging new people in order for that to happen and to build out your network even more. So that's really,
Yeah.
that's really something that I can resonate with as well. You also touched upon, well, it's sort of what is it? I don't know the thing that you said, but the MSP, being an MSP is, well, finding clients is pretty hard. Retaining them
Yeah.
is relatively easy because, well, it's quite some switching cost for the customer. Can you tell us a little bit on how you make sure to retain clients even more? What is it that you do in terms of customer experience? You obviously mentioned the ROI as well. Any other
Yeah.
things that you think are very important and are working well in terms of retaining your clients?
Yeah, I mean, you've got kind of the basics, haven't you? Like, do a good job first and foremost. So if you say you're going to do X, deliver X. We always want to be, I always get this wrong way around, over delivering and
Under promising.
um, under promising and not the other way around. So we work hard on that kind of basis stuff, and we talk a lot about that as a team. And customer cuddles is something I kind of gone a lot of the time about. So where a big company would kind of have faceless staff and you just be someone that answered the phone, but you wouldn't be able to build a relationship with the client. We encourage all of our guys to kind of have those chats, those non-technical chats, and learn about people, because again, we go back to people buying from people. And then where we can learn things, we can deliver customer cuddles. So we talked a little bit about that ROI stuff we do, but if we're learning more than just the problem at hand, and a particular client says, "Oh, this is really frustrating. I know it's not your problem, but X, Y, and Z." If we can develop something that relieves that frustration, or we can help with a system change, even though it hasn't been asked for, we're showing kind of high level ROI. We're not just fixing the things that have been put in front of us, but we're actually helping with staff engagement, like the culture at our clients. And then in turn, that's going to help with revenue and generating more profit. So wherever we can, being a smaller company, we want to be able to deliver those customer cuddles and learn those things that a bigger organization like a BT, for example, wouldn't have the capacity to do.
Yeah, and I think that is also part of your positioning as a business, that you're actually not a service provider, but you're actually a partner for them. You're constantly working with
Yeah.
them, giving them feedback, spotting new opportunities, making sure that you solve the next biggest bottleneck for them, and not only doing the things that they want you to do. Let's say it like that.
Yeah.
And I think that is also key. Well, and especially for MSPs, of course, in well, taking care of the whole IT part of their business, most of the IT part of that business. I think that is key in actually being able to retain your clients and the people within those clients, because again, it is people that buy from people and it's not the business that buys from you. So you mentioned that in the beginning already, your role in the business, obviously you started with more hands-on, actually delivering, actually doing the things. And
Yep.
it has been transitioning now more into where you can focus more on business development. I know you're doing quite some public speaking as well, or at least you're trying to get into that. You're doing some account-based marketing as well, with some,
Yep.
well, really highly specific outreach to people, to specific people. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? These specific things that you as an individual are doing to add to the, well, business development of the business.
Yeah, so I think firstly, having been on the tools as it were in the past and now transitioning more to kind of that BD role gives me a unique perspective to have a foot in both worlds. So when it comes to being able to relate to like a prospect or a business owner's problems, I can kind of see both sides. So that firstly is I guess an advantage from not just going down the sales and business development route, but actually coming from a technical background. So kind of what I'm trying to do is essentially people buy from people. I'll mention it a few times already. I want to build as many relationships with my prospects and my network as I can. So the more education I can put out, the more authority I can build, the better. And we've tried kind of lots of different things in the past, but I'm doing public speaking. So I got a speech coach, probably been working with her about 6 months now. I've done, I think, 4 or 5 different talks so far, and I've got another couple books coming up. They're not massive talks right now, but the whole time I'm hopefully refining my message. I'm becoming better at communicating, and that does also work for the internal team as well, by the way. So because I'm clearer and I can communicate better with prospects, I can also do that internally with staff. Um, we're about to start a podcast, so we've got some guests and some recordings lined up. So our own podcast is going to be recorded in June, or starting to be recorded in June. Probably go out by sort of August, September time. And we're just trying to be different enough that we're not selling all the time. We just want to be educational. The kind of mantra I have internally, as in me individually, is I will try and do the things that most people will shy away from. Hence, public speaking is not something I enjoy or really wanted to do, but it was a niche that my kind of competitors don't really do or people back away from. So, as much as I don't like doing something, once it's down and booked in my calendar, I'll suck up and do it. So, individually, I try and do all these kind of 1% things that I know that people won't do. There's probably stuff that I don't do very well, but I'm at a point where I'll just give it a go, essentially. And I think I kickstarted it off by when we hired an ops manager about 2 years ago now. For the first 3 months, once he'd been started and he relieved me of some of the day-to-day responsibilities, I had a 3 month window of saying yes to any opportunity. So if anybody asked me anything, doesn't matter how much I didn't want to do it, I had a 3 month window of just saying yes. I'm obviously a bit more careful with my time now, but ultimately it thrusts me into this mindset of just saying yeah and kind of finding a way to deal with it or to become better at it or more confident or however it is. So that's what really kickstarted me off on this journey, and I just kind of go from there, really.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And I can confirm, like, I'm speaking and I'm speaking to 15 to 20 businesses every week, similar type of companies, really in IT, some of them also, of course, MSPs. And you really are standing out in all of those other companies with the whole website. Again, people will probably not buy from the website directly, but it's a very good thing, and people will educate themselves from the website. You have the guarantees, you have the ROI, you have some small things that you can offer to of value to get your foot in the door. So in that sense, I think you're definitely standing out, and I really enjoy the thing that you mentioned. Well, saying yes to things, even though beforehand you don't think you can do it well, you don't want to do it. I think you have most of the time you just have to experience it and try it and see whether it works and see whether you might even enjoy it most of the times even. So I can really resonate with that. And then also a thing that I wanted to highlight that you mentioned at the beginning here is because you have been hands-on, you have been working with the systems, you can really understand their businesses as well, your clients' businesses, what they're dealing with, what is needed for them. And that is also something that I think is, well, I don't really want to call it my strengths, but I have an IT background myself. So I have been hands-on, I have been a product owner, I have been a business intelligence consultant. And now working with these IT consulting firms who are delivering services that I have been involved with, I can also understand their side and their value proposition. And that's sort of a lot of the feedback that we get from companies that I speak with. They have worked with agencies, they've worked with other people in the past who, of course, they are good at selling, they are good at marketing, they understand the core principles, they understand the recent developments, recent trends. But if they didn't understand their value proposition, most of the time the result was not really there. So I can also really resonate with your point there as well. I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
I think you're right. I think it helps you. So personally, people can see that I'm genuine because when I do talk about something with someone, I'm genuinely passionate about it. It's not a sales pitch. Like I genuinely care and I genuinely like the tech that we use.
Mm-hmm.
So I think building authority and being genuine again, that all lends itself when you come from that background of having both of those elements put together.
Yeah, definitely. And to close off sort of the business development side, I want to dive a little bit into AI. And of course, AI, that is the biggest buzzword right now. Everyone is talking about it. As you know, Microsoft is really on top of it with Copilot as well. But I want to, go a little bit away from the actual technology and maybe get your thoughts, because I know you have some thoughts around that, on how you can use AI to engage people. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think the key thing is that it's a new technology and people are generally scared of change. So there is a little bit of fear around AI and replacing people's jobs or doing X, Y, and Z. I think it's key to firstly kind of dispel those sort of things and show what AI can do and how it can positively help people. One of the things we do with clients and kind of all stakeholders in a business is we talk about how AI can remove tedious parts of their job and their kind of day-to-day processes. Recruitment in the UK is tough for, I think, a lot of companies at the minute. So if you can use AI to complement someone and keep staff retention and staff engagement, then that's got to be a massive benefit rather than having to churn through staff and constantly kind of be recruiting and that sort of stuff. So that's kind of the first thing I'd say, is to remove that fear and show how it can work with people. I think the other thing that I've noticed is we do tech review meetings with clients quite a lot. Is how we kind of have a plan to work through continual improvement with them. Lots of the time, historically, before the last 18 months, when AI was a buzzword, I would have to push them. We can do this. Do you know we can do this? Can we use Power Automate to do this and this? And it would always be until we'd done that first kind of deployment, it wouldn't be something that they'd be really engaged with or they'd come to me asking about. Since AI, I think our client base, their habits have changed and their thought process has changed. And now they will ask me, can we use AI to do this? Can we use AI to do this? And to be honest, half of the time isn't necessarily AI that will do it. Like Power Automate's been around for ages and you can do so much in Power Automate, but it's just that mindset that shifted and it's been able to, I guess, take what our clients are asking about now, but then relate it back to tech, whether it is AI or not, find a tech that fits within it. And it's a world that we didn't have, I don't think, 2 years ago. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, so in that sense, really, AI is just making people realize what is possible and understand that it is possible, and they only now think that it's only because of AI. But a lot of the tools have already been there. There's a lot of things that you could have already been doing in the past, but just now, because there's a lot of buzz around it, people are thinking, well, we need to do it now, and this is something that we need because we need AI because everyone is doing. I
Yeah.
think you should be a little bit cautious with that as well, in just blindly trying to implement AI because everyone is doing it. I think we will, with AI, and even though AI has been there for however many years already, will still, I think, go through a sort of maturity curve still with AI. So don't rush it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, it's surprising the amount of times I'm asked about something and then I ask if we've got a defined workflow that we can use for an AI kind of tool, and people can't define it. And at that point, it's you shouldn't be using AI if you can't define what that workflow looks like. So I think that's a valid point, and you do need to, kind of get those foundations in place before you look to use any form of automation or AI as well. So yeah, that's definitely a valid point.
Yeah. And last question, really, I want to look a little bit into the future based on your experience, based on your knowledge. Are there any specific trends, any developments in regards to IT, in regards to data, those types of things that you are following, you're seeing that will impact the world in the next couple of years, besides AI, maybe?
Yeah, I think the whole Power Platform and Power Apps mixed with Dynamics is essentially going to change our industry. As more and more services are cloud based, I think there's less and less use for traditional IT support. That break fix element, I think, is slowly dying and becoming more and more commoditized. So I think as an IT company, you need to offer these extra things. Hence the reason we actually started the Dynamics Cloud. And I think what we'll see is instead of having lots of different data siloed apps, we'll see kind of more ERP-based systems in the future. Obviously, the different systems that will do it, but Dynamics is kind of where we're hanging our hat for the future. And essentially, I think it'll transform the way businesses operate, because we'll move from just continuously building different apps into a business to just revamping the whole kind of tech stack. And the benefits that'll give with efficiency and automation and streamlining process will be massive compared to where we are right now. And I also think the world of Power Apps being low code or no code, so not having to have a programmer develop things line by line for you, will give everybody the ability to kind of at least customize some process and subsystems, even if you need to work with a partner to kind of refine things or perfect them. I think it'll move us away from a world where you have to buy an off-the-shelf product all the time, and you'll be able to go and develop something. Again, if you understand your workflow and your process, develop something that's a perfect fit for your organization.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it always comes back to having the foundation in order, whatever the new trend, the new technology is. Like you see in most businesses that they don't even have their data quality in order. They don't understand the processes, the workflows, the ideal workflows that they have as a business. That's where it should always start. And I think most businesses don't even have that in order. And they should solve that before even start thinking about those new trends and developments.
Yeah, I was speaking to an apprenticeship provider actually recently, and they said the fastest growing apprenticeship in the UK is data analysts now, because there's so many companies generating so much data, they just don't know where to start with it. They can't refine it, they can't cleanse it, they can't use it. So it's no longer like your SEO or your digital marketing courses that are kind of top. It's this data analyst. And I think you're right, businesses are crying out for this kind of stuff in the UK, and the more and more data we generate, the bigger that problem's going to become for people.
Definitely. I think the same way. Well, Jamie, I really enjoy this. I think we have discussed quite some topics. Something that goes to my heart as well, business development and IT specifically. So we got to touch upon that, some AI as well, and those types of things. If some people are listening and will say, well, I really need to talk to Jamie, or I want to learn more about Everon, where can they find you?
So our website for Everon is Everon, everon.co.uk. There is a kind of book a time slot with me on there if you want to book a call. Or I'm on LinkedIn, so my full name is Jamie Marshall. And again, the company is Everon or Dynamics 365 Cloud. Message me on there. As I kind of said earlier on, I'm more than happy to speak to as many people as I can, have as many educational chats as I can. So I'll spare whatever time I can where people need it.
Definitely take advantage of that opportunity, guys. Everyone listening, and I will of course put out all of the links in the description as well, so people can easily find you. Well, Jamie, thanks again. Again, I really enjoyed it, and I want to say good luck with everything that you're doing.
Perfect. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks.